I just
Yeah.
I just realized, guys, that I was talking about that idea of like you have an arch, and then you get to sort of a culmination point, and then you start a new arch that bridges together two other things. Like high, and it starts arcing up higher, right? Um,
Yes.
I was thinking, so that's sort of a right hand path, you could say, and then if you extend this idea, you could think of it like sewing. Not that I know a lot about sewing, but you sort of have this overarching and then this underarching, and you reach down and you grab, you have an arc, and you grab from the depths, from the waters, the multiplicity. You grab all these bits of potential, that chaotic potential, and then you scoop them up, and then you come up, and then you bring it up to the mountaintop, and you reintegrate it, and like you bring spirit into this body, and so you sort of have this weaving up and down through time, right? It's like sometimes you're on the upward path, and sometimes you're going down, and having a lot of multiplicity to scoop up and bring up to be glorified, and you have this like right hand left hand pattern, and that's, I think, the proper integration of the right and the left. Like it's like right-handed curve, left-handed curve, and you swoop down and you swoop up, and you kind of carry on that pattern, and when it's broken, it becomes recursive, and you either have too much identity and you have like a tyranny, or you have too much multiplicity and it's like the snake eating itself. So this is how you weave together um, all the different elements of society, all these things that
Yeah.
don't belong together,
So
but you weave them together with like love and connection, right? We're connect if we connect to each other, then we're woven together. There's a fringe instead of fraying.
well, yeah, the only thing that the conversation is missing is the feminine side, because that explanation is masculine.
Well, I think when you swoop
Yeah.
down, you have this arc. You fill this arc up with potential, with
No.
body, and then you come back up.
No. No.
That's the
Okay.
feminine.
Okay. Yes. You. Okay. Let me say it like this. You just explained the what, which is masculine, but the how is feminine.
How is love?
No, okay, but even saying love is masculine because it lacks the narrative. Like, okay, are we talking about opening your home and having dinner parties? Are we talking about
Hmm.
murdering everybody on your block? Are we talking? You know what I mean?
The
The
specifics we need.
masculine leaves open the narrative
Mm.
undefined.
Yeah, that helps me. Yeah, I see what you're saying. You have to attach it to a specific thing in the real
You have
world,
to have a story.
or it's too
Yeah, you have
ephemeral.
to have a story.
It's too abstract
Yeah.
without it actually like
No, it's
entering
not
the world in a
abstract enough.
body.
No, it's not abstract enough. It's too concrete.
Hmm.
Your explanation is too rigid. It doesn't have the ability to flow.
Mm.
Which is what happens with the language of creation. The language of creation doesn't have the narrative in it. So when Matthew talks super rigidly, even in his comparisons, the feminine side looks at it as like, well, okay, but like, what do I do with this thing?
Well, that's where we get
Like,
the
I'm not gonna.
regional thing.
Yes.
I like that because it's like, okay, we're breaking things down too far into detail. That's the problem.
Yeah. It's not that you're wrong, Kevin.
And to show
You're.
the problem, it's using the language of
Yeah, Kevin, you're not wrong in what you said. And this is the problem that we're going back and forth on. Um, it's that it misses the feminine side for the renewal, which is the sort of details inside the nomology or the symbolism. No, so the explanation works really well for those masculine sides. The people who are who are fact oriented, they get it. But the feminine side needs a different type of information conveyed. Well, it's interesting.
The feminine side is already the fact, so it's missing identity, and that's when it's identity. And then the masculine side is already identity, but it's missing the path.
Yes.
I can sort of see how the left and right switch.
But that's okay, yes. Okay, so that's why when we talked about women getting together and retelling a story over and over and over again, is because they have so little of the masculine side in them that they're trying to give it as much water to expose how much land there is. It's like Noah when the waters are all the way up. They're sending birds and birds and birds out to find the land.
I'm not sure I can connect with this.
I know, after I said that, I'm like, that was a feminine way to explain it. So, you explain it. So, let's see.
Like in a sense that they're exploring to find some place to establish something, maybe, yeah?
Yeah.
It's still happening when they're looking for a husband.
Yes, because there's so much water. All they can see is the ocean. They're out on the boat. All they can see is the ocean.
They don't know where they're
And so by sailing all the water, by sailing across all this water, eventually, if we go around the entire globe, eventually we're going to find a landmass. Eventually the water has to start drying up, and land has to emerge.
One day it will happen.
Yeah, because it's just playing through time. It's a version of waiting.
Yes. Yeah. Patience is a feminine.
Yeah, which is why it seems like a passive process as opposed to active one, or like the steady flow, consistent.
Well, yeah, it's repetitive because they tell the story, then the next person starts from a new narrative, tells that story. Another person starts from a new narrative, starts that story, so it's a loop. It's back and forth. It's a replaying moments, but it's also passing through time. Which is a circle, as opposed to the square.
You said that almost spiteful as if you had to.
Which is properly oriented to build the square, you know? Kind of thing.
Maybe realize that patience is really like a feminine.
Well, it is because it's rest. Work is the movement.
Nighttime. Stars moving across the nighttime, telling the same story over and over again.
Yep.
Conveying dreams, conveying narrative.
Patient.
And you act out in the daytime under clear light.
Yep.
Everyone can see the mystery was hidden.
Patience is burden-bearing. It's related to the word passion. Long-enduring. It's suffering for others.
Well, that's interesting.
Oh, for sure, yeah.
It's very difficult to convey what passion, at least for English, but to convey passion, but it's very evident when you see it.
Yeah. But that goes back to what you're talking about with tone in your voice.
It's very evident, but it's really hard to...
Explain more.
Oh, like if I start talking about enchantment like this, you guys know that I'm really excited about it, and I'm ready to talk about it, and it's like in me. But if I'm like, enchantment is, it's this thing that Tolkien talks about, the tone conveys how much I care about it.
Your tone didn't change since this entire talk. You tried to give an example, and it's like you're just showing us how you normally talk. Because you have passion for it. Just teasing you.
Yeah. Everything's just fine. Yeah. I guess we can talk about enchantment.
I hate to Stephen Hawking's this, but I think that's a very English thing. So, like in Chinese, if you say something in a
should learn Macedonian, Tom, if you're interested in these type of things, because the way we did, so our language is very kind of monotone. It's especially in the capital, the way people speak, kind of like a machine gun almost. There's barely melody to it. But then when people do actually speak, especially older generations, they almost always talk as if they're reciting a sort of poem or some sort of story. A lot of it is just references to old folk tales and stuff. Most people don't even know what references they're to. But
That is so interesting, because you explain Macedonia like as a disenchanted place. Or perversely enchanted place. Yeah.
Perverse?
Yeah.
No, it has enchantment, a lot of it. It's just in the wrong direction.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, but it's really a culture of turning around in circles. A lot of it is. Like, if you get a Macedonian person to change their behavior, man, kudos to you. I'm giving you a medal. It just rarely happens. I mean, people like that exist, but it's a very, very conservative culture in that sense. And so, when you, I talked about this before. It's like, even how friends hang out is very different. Over there, you just go out and you meet your friends as frequently as possible. And if you have nothing to talk about, you talk about the same things over and over again. And that's okay-ish. I mean, I don't like it that much, but it's normal for the culture. But then you put the importance of those things. It's kind of feminine in that sense. But, and also, what you're doing is you're increasing the importance of the person you're talking to. And so even if you're bored, it doesn't matter, you're bored together. So at least the together part stays, right? So you're very careful there. When you call somebody a friend in Macedonian culture, that means they're close to you. Not everybody is your friend. Most other people are your acquaintances, at most. And then the person who's your friend is like part of your tribe. It's already has a special kind of emphasis to the person, right? And we just kind of speak in the same way. We have these patterns of speech, and then they've been more or less the same for a very long time. And a lot of it is the storytelling kind of references to folk tales. Right? You do something, and then somebody always has some sort of proverb to tell you. Huh? Not always, maybe, but usually older generations. Older, I mean like my parents' age and upwards, so I guess 40, 50 upwards. Because it's getting lost right now because of social media. Right? Something like you go out, something happens, and then there's always some sort of proverb, some reference, some something. And it's always connected to tales and stories and music, song lyrics, a lot of those. It's not as structural and fact-based as it is in the West. Right?
That's interesting.
Right. You're on a road trip, for instance, and a lot of the conversation would be something like, somebody that did something stupid, usually somebody who's in the car because they want to embarrass you. And then they would retell the story, and they would react to the things that happened in the middle of telling the story. And then they'll make sounds, and then they'll make the references and stuff, and then they'll drag it on forever and whatnot, and then remind them of other things if you did similar stupid things.
So they're reacting to the story that they themselves are telling. So they're like, oh, and then Gordon slipped on a banana peel. Oh my God. Can't believe he did that. Sounds like an old Jewish mother or something.
The West has memified that, because we won't tell the story, but there'll be a pinnacle part of the story that gets repeated, like a catchphrase. Where something will happen, and then you'll just repeat like the punchline of the joke. And everybody who knows the joke will laugh.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's right. We also do it with movies. Movies will quote a line from the movie that's pertaining to the event that's happening right now. And they'll be like, oh, it's just like that. It's very unified.
You got that
Yeah.
part, right? Are you in with
Yep.
the group? The clan?
Yeah. It is what it is.
Sure.
Yeah, that's one of them for sure.
That's an old one. Yeah, true. Like that. Yeah, but it's more like in my opinion, it's more like a fakery. The other one's gonna be weird. I'm just telling the differences.
Yeah.
And comparison, if you're on a road trip with a German person, you'll be talking about like facts, like how much mileage does the car have, and how much fuel does it consume, right? What's the best repair shop to do, and then what kind of scams they can throw on you, regulations about those scams, those type of conversations. Not a lot of reactions, and they have something like reactions, but it's almost like how would I say it? It's almost not sarcastic, ironically, almost. Not exactly, but it's kind of like, haha, that reference that old people make, haha. It's almost said like a joke. Right? When Eastern Europeans talk about it, it's not said as a joke, it's like said as a real thing. It's like me calling somebody fat, and immediately somebody in Macedonian goes, fat's guy in the battle black. You're like a rabbit complaining to a donkey that the donkey has just really large ears. Whatever. Yeah, but for sure, a very noticeable difference.
Yeah, so I think that's actually an enchantment in itself, the structure of the language, but that is very Stephen Hawking's to some degree. But it's true. We can talk about the patterns, and this is what I think symbolism does a very great job is, yes, there's an enchantment right now that the symbols don't match. They've been rewritten in some way, but I think the goal is to keep the story alive through the symbols. I brought the Chinese example of the tonality. It's very implied, you know what I mean? It's like these things are, yeah. Or actually, maybe it's not. Okay. I think it's the English is the implied one, because you can say it's very context driven. So like you can say one word and it means 5 different things, but based on the context of the sentence, that's what gives it meaning. Whereas, in contrast to that, Chinese is very specific with the tonality you're used to. So I say all that to say, yeah, it's hidden. There's some aspect about it that's feminine, mystery, nighttime, hidden. But very experienced. It's a very, very like that feeling when the German person is telling you something, and it seems like it should be satirical, but they're stating like a fact or something like that, and like in a different culture, it'd be taken in a completely different way. Yeah, I think that's how the relationship works. What's up?
I remember we had the most amazing conversation about the stumbling stone. Oh my God. I remember we had the most amazing conversation about the stumbling stone another time, and I really wished it got recorded, and I didn't. There were parts I got distracted anyway. Would you guys want to take that one on again? I thought it's so deep. There's so many places to go with it. We got into Peter and stuff, and it's just like, wow. I could start if you guys want.
Explain the stumbling stone.
Yeah, sure. So, there are many aspects, but you could start by saying if you have, it's the stone that the stumblers rejected. So, if you're building something and you have all the materials are sort of similar to each other, and then there's one that is quite different than all the others, then the only place you can symmetrically, like efficiently integrate that one thing is at the center. So in other words, you sort of have to pay close attention to this one thing that doesn't fit. So this is how science works, right? It's like you can have a great theory until there's one thing that sort of contradicts it, and now you have to go back to the drawing board and focus on that one thing and see how it can be reintegrated into your understanding in order to have a valid understanding. So Christ was the stumbling stone for Rome, where it's like we were talking earlier, turning the other cheek and things like that. It's like if everybody currently believes that everybody's selfish, or that there are many arbitrary gods that rule our reality, and then you have one person that comes in and demonstrates that even if there's just one case of somebody that would put they would value their soul over their body, they would value the quality of their character over life itself, then that completely blows away the paradigms of all these people that witness this, that come to understand this. It's like taking another bite of the fruit of good and evil, right? You have like this higher image now that you now have a responsibility to imitate, right? Like you can clearly see that this one thing is more good than this other thing, so it clearly belongs at the pinnacle. And there's Christian architecture. It's in the chat here, where there's the image of Christ is at the top in the middle of these archways. It's the keystone in these archways that it's what holds everything together. It's what bridges the gap between the one and the many, or between two things. And it's this love is what does that. So this is the embodiment of love in a way. And I thought there was a really cool example of this when the ancients looked at the celestial bodies. They used to keep track of the way they would move over the sky. Everything actually pivoted around this one star, the North Star, over the pole, the North Pole, and everything else sort of moved in uniform motion, except at a certain time of year, this one red object in the sky would have a retrograde motion. It would start going in the opposite direction that it was going, and people thought they knew, maybe that the Earth was the center of the universe or something like that, and everything's sort of rotating around it. And now they're like, well, what does this mean? Like, we have to figure this out, and then you get a higher understanding as a result. But that one thing, by the way, was Mars. And what happens is, we sort of, we're doing laps around the sun, and we have the inside track, and at some point we catch up to Mars and pass it, and relative to the other celestial bodies, it starts to look like it goes backwards for a while. And there's something so deep about this, and it's so embedded in the Genesis story. I'm going to try to find this image, but there's this chiasm, there's this crossing over point, there's this point where sort of you have this singularity, this moment where a new world, a new view of the universe comes into view, and you sort of cross over into, like, you have a new responsibility, you have like a new covenant, sort of, right? You have to integrate this thing in order to keep moving forward, right? Because we're called to, like, bring order, to, like, subdue and replenish the earth and multiply and renew. So in order to do that, as you're in a changing environment, you have to adapt to the changes, or you'll die, right? And that's sort of what Noah is doing, is he's sort of seeing that, like, hey, the way we are isn't going to cut it, and like, sin is crouching at our doorstep, chaos is getting ready to wipe us out, and we have to, like, learn to reintegrate those things that are not fitting, right? Like, there's all these people that are acting monstrously, they're acting like animals, and we have to figure out some way, before the fabric of everything tears apart, the center can't hold anymore. We have to figure out a way to reintegrate these, like, dog-headed people, like St. Christopher, these people that are mostly made of thorns. They're mostly made of chaos, and at best they can be accepted at the margins. You have to, like, reach out into the chaos and, like, expand your borders, and be prepared for the consequences of that in order to integrate those wild things. And I think that's what an arc is. It's like reaching down into the chaos and, like, scooping out potential, and then bringing it up to be given spirit from above, to the logos, to the ideal image at the top, the keystone, and to bring heaven to earth, and earth to heaven, and have them sort of. So I was saying before that's their sort of, you could see that as being like a pattern of right hand path, left hand path. It's like the identity reaches down to the multiplicity, and then you turn the other direction, and the multiplicity reaches up to the identity, and you have this, like, time is occurring too. So it's kind of like, you have these rises and falls, right? It's this sort of weaving, and that's a way that we stay connected. There's, like, we keep a ladder, a thread, connected to God, and but also by being connected to each other, by caring for each other, we build a fringe and build a fabric in that way, rather than it fraying. It's sort of held together, and you can see this pattern quite a bit. I was going to find that Kayasm, but there's a term that's known in a few fields, but it's often in optics. You'll find that the way one eye works, or the way that two eyes work, is they have this crossing over. So it's like the top of the eye receives the light from the bottom of the image, and vice versa, and then each eye, part of the image that's constructed in your mind's eye, comes from each eye, but it's sort of seamless. Like, you don't actually recognize that, but each eye contributes partially to what you see by sort of, like, grafting and patching the two things to make one image. And there's something about how well, I'll also say that having two vantage points, two eyes, is it's a way that you have this comparison, right? You can look at where one thing is relative to other things from one viewpoint, and then from another viewpoint, and then you can actually tell how far away it is from you. You can get a sense of depth this way. So the way, like, the Hubble Space Telescope figures out how far away other stars are and stuff, is it compares one star compared to the background stars at one time of year when the Earth is, like, furthest from the sun, and then another 6 months later when the Earth is closest to the sun, and sort of compare the two, and, like, how much the relative difference is between those two tells you how far away the thing is. Like, if the image doesn't change, then those things are really far away, and if the image changes quite a bit, then like maybe it's a planet because it's like so close, right? Or it's a nearby star, and so on, right? You can actually get an idea of that, but it's like the more difference there is between the two viewpoints, the more you'll know. So that's really embedded in the Bible. There's all these chiasms where, you start with one thing and then sort of invert it and go back to that thing, but in a new form. So it's like the wounded healer that healed the wounded, you know. The Noah's the story of Noah is very chiastic. There's like all the Adam from Adam to the fall to Christ's sacrifice on the cross. That's a chiastic moment, and then the church comes out of that. There's all these sort of crossing over points. I think that like it's all these points of sacrifice. Abraham and Isaac, and then there's a new covenant. Jacob builds the altar and sacrifices, new covenant. Noah finds dry land. First thing he does, build an altar, new covenant. You have a rainbow. It's like a light shining, God's light shining through and becoming visible. Pentecost. Christ on the cross. Moses at the top of the mountain. So you have this, but in Genesis you have the male and the female, the masculine and the feminine perspective, and it's like the woman, Adam and the woman sort of offers a stumbling stone for Adam, and when they're in the right orientation, it's like a right-oriented Antichrist pattern. So Matthew Peugeot is probably going to get in trouble for this, but he has some sort of a I don't know if it's a properly oriented left-hand path or something, but he talks about like you're introducing when you make a creation, you want to test it to make sure that it's good, right? So you have to have a devil's advocate, someone who's like, well, what about this? What about this thing at the margin, at the periphery that you're not accounting for right now? What about this crying baby? Like, it's easy to focus on what you're trying to build, but if we don't listen to this baby that's crying, then what you're going to build is going to crumble. We need the next generation too, right? So there's this foreigner. You have to introduce the foreigner that brings death. It's from the earthly world, like farthest from the source of life, that will be deadly to what doesn't belong, to what's not fit for its environment, right? For what is not a good, it's not suitable or worthy, sort of has to die, but without killing the entire project, right? It's like you have to cut away the thorns so that there's like pure soil without a bunch of stuff getting in the way, other patterns to keep the seed from growing to be what it's meant to be. And I can see there's so many things in this in the Adam and Eve story that are chiastic. It's this thing below is it's like, is heaven masculine or feminine? It's like it's feminine compared to God, but is masculine compared to Adam, and Adam is like masculine compared to Eve, but feminine compared to heaven, and like everything is like fractally patterned after what's above it, and has it's like a yin yang. It has a bit of what's above, it has a bit of the other in it. So these two, I think, are meant to, especially the feminine is there to reflect. It's like for the masculine to reflect on himself, to like be able to see himself from a different perspective and, be able to make improvements. Maybe I'll leave it there, and people can maybe get into like where else they see that pattern, and I'm gonna let you guys talk while I find some of the images that support what I was just saying there.
Just add one more thing and then I'll leave because it's getting late over here. Now I'm employed person, so responsibilities and stuff. But I remember Matthew was talking about like Satan being, there's a fallen Satan and then the functional good version of it. So I'm reading Saint Isaac the Syrian, and the way he talks about Saint Isaac is that there's only the good basically version of it. It's almost as if his idea is every form of stumbling block, whether it's something that's causing you, that's putting you in exile, or something that's just testing you, regardless, every time it's good for yourself, something like that. And the way he talks about it is that if you get tortured by the devil, it's because God let him do it. Every single time. And so even if we're dealing with fallen Satan, he would say something like, he would always say something like, unless you're prepared to, not prepared, more like willing, unless you're willing to undergo unjustified suffering, then you can't have access to the divine mysteries. And so he would talk about, basically, well, he's very extreme in this sense, but he would talk about suffering in a sense that's something like you have to not just endure, but it's something that you have to see as a necessary aspect in order to get access to knowledge, to higher knowledge, spiritual knowledge. And then without this, you don't have real access to it. And so when you're grounding your a theoretical knowledge into something more concrete, that's sort of what you're doing. It doesn't have to be suffering in a sense like complete torture every single time, but the way he talks about it is like the more you move towards a Christian life, that the more you have to encounter this sort of suffering. And a lot of it is going to be unjustified, and a lot of it has to be, it's bodily suffering, so stuff you have to go through, maybe psychological suffering in some sense, but personal, let's put it this way, some stuff that you have to go through in order to renew yourself from your own sins. And then there's the suffering you have to undergo through, which is afflictions from other people, being mocked, being not taken seriously, people finding what you're doing foolish, that type of stuff. And unless you're able to deal with both, then you can't grow. It's kind of extreme. To be honest, it's more on the puritanical side of things. But still, it's interesting to see because the Christians basically claim that Christ conquers death and now there's no more death. And the way he interprets it is, St. Isaac, I mean, from what it seems like, is that means that both kinds of Satans are now an opportunity for you to renew yourself. One of them is going to be being properly tested by God to see if you're conquered by pride, and to keep you on guard, to keep you in check, to keep yourself disciplined, basically, to not let yourself completely wander. But then the other type of suffering is you have to be willing to undergo the unfair aspects of suffering, the horrible aspects of the world, because that's the only way you can be an agent to transform the world. I'm not saying it the way he would say it, but it's almost as if that other aspect is there to teach you how to handle with the current problems of the world that are not taken care of yet. And so the way he sees it is like both are good, both are allowed to be there by God. Well, make of it what you wish. I think he's a bit on the extreme side, but it's worth thinking about anyways.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's
And
awesome.
nice talking to you guys. Yeah, it was great. It was great. reasons I haven't been showing up is because there's like these expats meetings on Thursdays. So we're going to those to just meet people, make some friends, but I've had other ways to meet people. And the ones on Thursdays are gonna make sometimes they're good, sometimes they're it's kind of like a 50-50. So I'll see. Okay. I'll try to come to these mostly. As I skip the Thursday ones to come here.
Yeah, that's okay.
Yeah, this is more general, like,
Oh.
yeah?
Oh, no, go ahead.
Well, I was gonna say, like, I feel like, well, I was doing this in the beginning just so I can, like, meet somebody at least. I've been meeting people constantly. To have some, like, basis of, even if they're not friends, at least to have people to go out with so I can meet other people and then eventually, make local friends here.
Yeah.
But, I'm already starting to feel like I have to be a bit selective with who I hang out and what kind of conversations I have because it's really affecting me.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I've been here for a month and I've already met like 3 people who are divorced and have children. And they're not too older than me. Similar to, I'm 26, but they're like 30, 35, which is, it's crazy. It's like we've been talking about these things constantly, but now it feels like for the first time I'm really facing the reality of this. And people who are going through this and what it looks like and why it's like,
Yeah. I need to chill.
Chaff.
huh?
Gotta separate that wheat from the chaff.
Yeah, that's what it feels like. I really want a bubble. People are supposed to hate bubbles. I want a bubble. I want a bubble of deep thinkers and people with character.
Yeah.
And I want to stay in that bubble. And I'll leave from time to time for renewal. Other than that, no. That's what I understand. I'm Christian biased and not ashamed of it.
Yeah, it's how to survive past 33 is keep a close circle.
I mean, it's not to survive at any age.
Yeah.
It's not like that. It's one of those universal things. Alrighty then. Good night. And see you next time.
Yeah, we'll see you.
Good night.
Perfect. Good night.
And I've got to take off because I got to mow. So I'm still at work.
Yeah, sure.
But when I get off work, we can chat or whatever.
Sure.
Alright. See you guys.
Yo, Rusty, can you see how my profile's moving?
I see that.
That's magic. That's.
How did you get that?
Oh, it's a secret esoteric wisdom.
Nice. Alright. I'm gonna go. See you guys.
Until next time.
Yeah, see ya.